things we could possibly do.
Order. Dr. Rajim Prasad.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's always good to follow Mr. McIndoe on this particular bill and indeed many others. Much of what he says do not hold up to scrutiny at all. Indeed, much of what the government members have had to say on this bill does not hold up to scrutiny at all. But this is a nasty bill. It's got nasty provisions, and it's a nasty government that's trying to foist this upon our most vulnerable. Look, there are some things we agree on. We agree with the government when they say that the best way is through work. Best way to assist the people we're talking about is through work, and we agree with the government on that. But that's where the similarities end. Because when this side of the House, when Labour was in government, it did just that. It got our most vulnerable into work. It reduced the unemployment to the lowest in the Western world. And when it did that, the welfare numbers came down, people were in work, and people got on with it. But that side is not creating work. They were aggressive approach to creating jobs, aggressive triaging, indeed. That member there says a lot, took the shortest call possible, probably fell asleep. Melissa Lee had better listen and argue this particular point, because I don't know where that member was when this bill was being debated. Look, what this government has done, and this particular bill, is what it's done in the ACC area and in other areas as well, and is doing now in local government reform. You create a problem. You create the figment of a problem, then you apply, Mr. McIndoe, you apply your own ideology, because that is all that this government is doing, applying its particular ideology. Look, the language we hear from this minister is, we will back the young people. If this is backing the young people, then this is not backing at all. To what extent is this backing young people? And I shall go through it step by step and show to Mr. McIndoe how that really indeed is this intellectual dishonesty. Intellectual dishonesty, because it's not backing young people. Now, the process of submissions was truncated. It really was truncated for no good reason. The only reason the government gave was that, oh, well, welfare reform was introduced last year. People have had their say, so we need a very short period. What was the government frightened of? What was the government frightened of? Too many people will come and tell members opposite how this is a bad idea, because on another bill before the same select committee, we've got a long period of submissions. It's not as important as this bill. And it's already had other reports done. But here that side is saying, no, let's truncate. And you know, my colleague, Sue Williams here, went through the submissions absolutely honestly and religiously. I'm happy to quote it back to the members opposite. Absolutely honestly, because I've got my notes from the select committee. Happy to read it out to the members opposite. What he said was exactly what the submitters said. Submitters did not support this bill at all. At all. I don't know where those members were. They must have been asleep, because Sam Lotoinga was far too busy managing the process than not listening to what people were saying. Because if he did, this bill would not have survived in this form. But it's a travesty. It's a travesty to the power of a select committee. It's just not trusting our citizens, our responsible citizens, coming to select committee and making submissions that side did not hear. Can Mr. Sam Lotoinga put hand on heart and said, we heard the submissions and we made the changes?
No, he can't.
He can't. The member can't. Because the member had instructions from his minister, who they're all singing great praises of. I don't know who's in for promotion next. But, you know, listen, Todd McClay has done a travesty to his own. But listen to the figures. Listen to the figures. 85 submissions, 50 opposed, 9 supported, 6 were unclear. Do the maths. When you do that math, this makes 73% who opposed the proposals. 73%. Apply the standard of the debacle of the class sizes, the government should walk away from this bill. Walk away from this bill. Because there's no legitimacy to do this. None at all. The government talks about an investment approach. Investment approach, my big toe. My big toe, because there is no investment in this. You know, if we invested in jobs, then it was an investment approach. This is what the marketeers have come up with, a nice slogan. Let's use an investment approach. Let's use the social service language to wrap around, and we'll get there. They will not get there, Mr. Speaker, because there is no intellectual honesty about this particular approach. This is a mean government. This is the approach is insincere. It's a punitive approach. It's uncharitable. It cares little for the most vulnerable in our society. And that's what this government has done. You know, it's ironic that this government is so hell-bent on doing so much damage. And this will do damage. If Mr. McIndoe, if that member believes this will be your finest hour, then I feel sorry for you. This can't be your finest hour. This is going to be quite pathetic, because there is no investment in this particular approach. Mr. Speaker, many submitters rejected the government's approach to solo mothers bringing up another child. A solo mother bringing up a second child, and now, after 12 months, that mother has to go to work. For a moment, Minister, turn away from that mother and focus on the face of the child. What does the child need? What did that child do wrong? That child needs the mother there for as long as any mother can stay at home. But no, that minister in a nasty way is going to take that away from our young babies. And that's mean. That is mean-spirited. What is there about an investment in that? Because that mother will need that baby will need that mother. It's not the baby's fault that the baby's been born, but that is a fact. Now, at least we can do is support them to get the best service, to bond and to have the time together. Now, you know, it's quite ironic, Mr. Speaker, that this government talks a lot about evidence. And, you know, I want then the next speaker or any member of that government to get up and tell me what is the theory that actually says that this is the way to treat young people. Young people, taking the very tools we have to train them, take their money away from them, lock it up somewhere, and look, every theory I know, and I've studied this, every theory I know says that power to make decisions shifts as the child grows older. The independent youth benefit has been a problem. Some parents have had difficulty with this. This is the group of young people who've really split with their own families. Those families have not liked this benefit, because somehow they blame the benefit. But the benefit has been a response to those parents who have really disenfranchised their own children, separated. The state has had to look after them. And now they have the ear of this minister. They've had the ear of this government. They've had the ear of this particular cabinet, because they're devising mean policies to ensure they can actually come now and be punitive. There is no science in this approach. People presented to us and said, this approach used in America it actually increased dependency, actually increased it. So where is the evidence? Let the next speaker tell me where the evidence is. Let the next speaker tell me where is the science? Because it isn't. All it is a series of punitive mechanisms. Submitter after submitter said this was mean, this was bullying, this was punitive, this won't work. Name me one respectable organization that submitted, and I'll read the submitters out. The Human Rights Commission, the Children's Commissioner, they all said the same thing. 9 people supported this particular measure. Now, Mr. McIndoe, by any standards, you should have the courage to say that at least other people thought very differently. How does this move our people further? How does this really get young people to grow up quickly? How does this actually give our children, our babies, the best start in life possible? It doesn't. Somehow, because somebody is a beneficiary, they're entitled on behalf of this government for us to be mean to them. Well, this side will never do that. This side will invest in the proper sense, as indeed it has for a long time. This side will get them an education, will get them jobs. The government members of that select committee cannot be proud with the way in which they conducted themselves. It was not a happy select committee. It was a mean select committee, and the members did not conduct themselves well. I was not pleased to be part of that select committee, Mr. McIndoe, and I'm sure you weren't as well, because what that select committee was doing, railroading, using this minister's directions to you, Mr. McIndoe, you and your colleagues took leave of your senses to just look at the evidence, look at the science, and take further. Now, ideology. Your ideology got in the way, just like asset sales ideology. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Wonderful.
I call Alfred Naro.
Speaker, I stand here and I